So you may have heard about the $100,000 fee. Essentially, became effective last year, and it really only applies to a first-time applicant who is physically outside of the U.S. when an H-1B petition is filed, and or they file in the US, but they're not eligible for a change of status. So if you're looking at someone who is on OPT, maybe they're on F1, they're on OPT, or they're in another status, and they are eligible, which generally you are if you're in the US, eligible for a change of status, this is not going to be applicable, even if later that H-1B applicant departs the US for the H-1B visa stamping. So as long as you're eligible for a change of status and you're physically in the US, this $100,000 penalty fee isn't going to apply. If it is applicable to your case, there is a national interest exemption. We've seen a little bit of how this plays out, but essentially, if the employer can show that they really can't find any US workers, which is not a requirement for the general H-1B program, but if an employer can show that and it's in the national interest to hire this H-1B worker, then there are potential exemptions available. Okay, the other big change to the program has to do with how the selection is made. So the lottery is still a random lottery, meaning it doesn't matter if you apply at the beginning of the lottery or the end of the lottery, as long as your submission is provided prior to the end date, which is usually, I think last year was March 24th. It's still random. But what's going to be different this year, and this is being challenged, or we expect that it will be challenged, it doesn't become effective technically until next month. So we expect once it becomes effective, it's going to be a challenge in court. But assuming that this continues, the selection will work like this. So basically, USCIS will prioritize higher paid, higher skilled workers. So right now, when we're submitting an H-1B, part of that process is providing a wage to Department of Labor. And there are 4 levels of wages for every category, which is the DOL category for a particular position. Wage level 1 is an entry level. So this is usually folks that are just graduating, or maybe they've just been in the field for a couple of years. Then you have wage level 2, that's more experience. Wage level 3, that's very experienced. And when wage level 4 is an expert. So this lottery system will now be prioritizing the higher wage. The way they'll do that is if you're at a wage level 4, your lottery submission will be submitted 4 times. If it's a wage level 3, it'll be submitted 3 times. Wage level 2, 2 times. Wage level 1, 1 time. So essentially, the more entries, the higher relative odds, but still there's no guarantee of selection. So this is a pretty drastic change to the program. What is not changing is are the number of slots available. So you still have your 85,000 total. You've got your 65,000 regular, your 20,000 additional for US Masters. You still have the employer sponsorship, the specialty occupation standards, the labor condition application requirements. As I mentioned, the lottery doesn't favor early applicants, and the beneficiary is only eligible for 1 entry. Let me clarify that too. So if a beneficiary has multiple employers that want to register, to submit a registration on their behalf, you really don't want to do that anymore. Each beneficiary gets 1 registration total. And USCIS has said that they will select the lowest wage registration. So it used to be that we would have beneficiaries have multiple employers sponsor them, and essentially USCIS is saying, no, we're not going to permit that anymore. So there's been a lot of speculation about what this change means as far as percentages. I'll go over kind of what most of the experts are saying, but I do want to preface that with, every year it's not what we thought it was. And there are 2 major changes to the program this year, or that will affect the program this year. One, the $100,000 penalty fee essentially means we're really going to have far fewer applicants, I suspect, this year, because people are not going to be submitting a registration if they're physically outside of the US. And then 2, you have the wage level. So in general, in years past, the selection percentage was about 29%. So that meant you had a 29% chance of being selected from the lottery just in the regular cap. Um, the expectation for this year with those two changes are that if it's a level one wage, your probability is reduced. Level two wage, it's actually higher. Level three wage, you're now getting into almost 46%, and level four wage, you're getting into 61%.